These are arguably two of the best Android phones you can buy right now, money no object. The Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra and Google's Pixel 9 Pro XL. They offer heaps of software and hardware features, but only one will be victorious today. So, which will it be? Let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas and I'll address the elephant in the room first. This is the regular Pixel 9 Pro in today's footage. Just imagine it's the bigger one for the sake of illustration here. Right, there are some key differences between these two that you need to know off the bat. Samsung's Galaxy S24 is an extra $200 MSRP, which sounds like a lot, but it also adds quite a bit more functionality over the Pixel 9 Pro XL, such as DeX, which allows you to turn your phone into a mini desktop with the dongle. It's something that most people wouldn't touch, but it is actually a killer add-on and one that adds considerable value. Not only this, but the S Pen allows you to make far finer adjustments in photos, and of course sketch out diagrams and mark up images and screenshots. Again, not everyone is going to utilize this feature, so it might not mean anything to you, but it is also an additional hardware feature that you don't get with the Pixel. And while we're on the topic of hardware, the performance with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip is considerably better than the Tensor G4, which itself isn't an awful chip, it's just not at the level that Qualcomm can deliver. And while Google advertises the Pixel 9 Pro as having 16 gigs of RAM, 4 of that is segmented off exclusively for AI, so yeah. Add in the fact that Samsung employs faster storage and double the space at the base price, and you can start to see that if you're looking at these two and you're a bit of a power user or a bit of a hardcore gamer, or like to get just a lot done on the go, the Galaxy is far and away the better choice, especially when you add in its longer lasting battery life thanks to that 8 Gen 3's efficiency and also slightly faster charging over a wire. You certainly get what you pay for when you spend more on the Galaxy over the Pixel, and the phone as a whole I think feels a little bit more complete thanks to these hardware additions. But there's certainly value in the Pixel 9 Pro XL. I think the chassis rails feel far nicer, the glossy sides I think are counterintuitively a little bit grippier as well, and the bottom edge doesn't dig into your hand as much as the almost squared off approach on the Galaxy. Google has absolutely nailed its device feel this time around, with really nice clicky buttons, nice weight distribution. The stuff that you don't usually see on a spec sheet just feels so much better in person. And of course this stuff won't matter nearly as much if you put a case on it, and at this price point, I'll be honest, I wouldn't blame you for putting a case on them. But out of the box, the Pixel looks and feels nicer to me, so I prefer the way it feels in the hand. I feel like a bit of a broken record talking about the displays here because the Pixel 9 Pro screen is an absolutely phenomenal panel, as is the Pro XL. It feels like a bit of a say the line Bart moment when I say that in HDR the Pixel 9 Pro's panel doesn't get as bright as the S24 Ultra's, but in everything else, SDR content and outside of videos, you will find that the Pixel 9 Pro's display is considerably and noticeably brighter than the Galaxy S24 Ultra's, even when you enable the extra brightness toggle, which of course you will need to do on the Galaxy S24 Ultra if you're using it in manual mode. Now, that isn't to say the Galaxy's panel is really far behind, because as you guys know, Samsung makes amazing displays and it's definitely not a bad screen. It is still one of the best you can get. It's slightly sharper, despite the Pro XL matching the Ultra's corner-to-corner size. It is also a little bit bigger with more usable screen volume because there's less cut off by the curves in the corners. In fact, these are probably two of the best standard form factor screens you can get right now on any smartphone. They are absolutely phenomenal. 120Hz, Quad HD+, 6.8 inches on the Pro XL and S24 Ultra, or 6.3 if you go for the smaller Pixel. And of course, if you're into the whole AI thing, these two are also some of the best phones you can buy right now. Samsung's Galaxy AI suite has its object removal and repositioning, instant slow-mo, browsing assist, on-the-fly interpreter, sketch assist, selfie studio, and some of this is useful, some of this is a bit of a party trick, and I wouldn't rely on all of it all of the time, but it's still useful to have all of these features for the right person. Whereas Google's package comprises Magic Editor, Sky Replacer, Top Shot, Ads Me, AI Eraser, Audio Eraser, Pixel Studio, and a range of Gemini assistant modes. Some of these, again, work quite well, but I wouldn't rely on all of them all of the time. You guys already know that I myself am not big on AI, so these things don't matter to me, but if they do to you, I do think that Google's set is a little more useful and a little less gimmicky than what Samsung is offering, but I can see the draw to Samsung's sort of arty aesthetic too. Though the software in and of itself, Android 14, runs really well on both sides, and which you're going to pick is going to depend on your preference, maybe what you're used to. I think on bigger screens, Samsung's One UI is just a little more polished as it makes a good use of that space by reducing and making denser menus, whereas Google's software is just sort of enlarged. And it does look good, I'm just not sure that it's particularly optimized for these massive phablet screens. Both are due to receive Android updates till 2031, so that's fantastic. There's no real issue with long-term support here on either, so that's a hard one to pick between. I have had no real issue with battery life on either device. Even the smaller Pixel 9 Pro actually gets me a full day pretty much all the time. But that additional efficiency of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 means the S24 Ultra just lasts longer. It can be a 2-day phone for some people, me being one of those people, and even on heavier days it's going to drop to sort of 1.5, maybe 1.25 days. I had absolutely no concerns about this beast letting me down. It also has the faster charging over the cable by a little bit, but neither phone is really going to wow you with their crazy top-up speeds or anything like that. And the Pixel 9 Pro XL still has a great battery, it's just not as good as the Samsung. And as for the cameras, both phones offer a lot of hardware here, with wide, ultra-wide, and 5x tele options on the back, but where Samsung gives you an extra 3x, the Pixel's selfie camera is actually more powerful than the Galaxy with a wider base field of view and of course that higher resolution. Generally speaking, the Galaxy produces more punchy, vibrant, contrasty images with richer tones, and the Pixel's photos end up a little more natural. And one thing I actually picked up on early on is that Google seems to be dealing with haze and backlit subjects a bit better, resulting in clearer details in these scenarios. Images in terms of sharpness though, dynamic range and so on are all very similar and go back and forth despite the massive difference in resolutions on the main sensors. The ultra-wide cameras follow the same general patterns as the mains. The Pixel is delivering more natural photos here, where I think the Galaxy can get a little bit more dramatic, but honestly, it's not a huge difference. And again, these things are subjective, so it's going to come down to personal preference. When pinching in, both do a phenomenal job at 10, 20, even 30 times where the Pixel tops out and the Samsung lets you go to 100. There are clearly two different approaches here. Samsung is employing the world's supply of artificial sharpness, which I think looks quite unnatural, where Google is sort of mushing details, or at least not turning that sharpness slider all the way up. So you let me know in the comments which of these two approaches you prefer. I think I want to go with the Pixel if I'm quite honest. Both cameras can shoot 8K footage at 30 FPS and they look fantastic. Since Google's version of this is using its video boost feature to process the clips, I think they come out looking better in pretty much every single area, but of course at the cost of having to wait to upload them to the cloud and then process them and then download them. I think that whole process is well worth it, but again, let me know in the comments. And Google's selfie camera not only has the extra field of view here, but I think overall has better image quality across the board too. The Google Pixel 9 Pro XL is a fantastic phone that I doubt anyone is going to be disappointed with if they bought it. It sports some serious cameras, a gorgeous design, a superb screen, and does performance and battery life to a standard that I think very few would actually argue with. It's a phenomenal device and perhaps one of the best in the world if you want AI. However, I think the beefier hardware and additional functionality offered by Samsung with its S24 Ultra more than makes up the difference in price, and so that's my pick for this comparison. I really like the S Pen, I really like DeX, I love the software, but you might have different priorities and you might pick a different phone. It might be the best time to buy a new smartphone right now. There are some phenomenal flagships on the market, and I wouldn't blame you going either way on this, honestly. Which of these two are you picking? Let me know in the comments, or if like me, you up for something else entirely. While you're down there, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. I've been Ryan Thomas and I'll catch you later. Cheers.